Joining us live in the studio are political insiders Tony May and Charlie Giroux, here to talk about Super Tuesday. It is a big day.
It's a huge day. I want to talk to both of you about it. Let's start with you, Charlie, since you're the Republican strategist here. This is the GOP primary. Do you think we're going to lose any of the four candidates when it's all over with tonight?
Probably not, but this is March Madness for political junkies. It's the biggest day of the primary season. An awful lot of delegates on the block tonight, 400-plus delegates. But I think the narrative will change tomorrow night. I think that Rick Santorum is likely to have a tough night tonight. The question is, does Newt Gingrich have a good enough night to make it a Gingrich-Romney campaign going forward? Mitt Romney's going to do fairly well tonight. He'll certainly do well in the states where, for example, Gingrich and Santorum aren't even on the ballot.
Now, Ohio in itself is a huge state tonight because no president has been elected without winning Ohio. Is that correct?
Right. It's a key state. It's a northern industrial state. It's always one of the states that's in play. So people are going to keep an eye on what happens there.
Charlie, tell us about Santorum and Gingrich not being on the ballot in Virginia. Was that a bad move? I mean, they had time,
Terrible
right?
move for both of them.
Yeah.
These are the things that come back to haunt you. And Rick Santorum was very devoted to Iowa, out driving around in his pickup truck. It worked very well for him in Iowa, but down the road, not paying attention to those details and mending your knitting really cost you. And the same thing for the Gingrich campaign.
And they essentially missed the deadline, right?
They missed the deadline. They didn't miss the deadline. In Gingrich's case, they didn't have enough signatures.
Okay.
And in Santorum's case, the same. They needed an awful lot, 10,000 in Virginia, but both of them should have qualified for the ballot. It would have been a very different race in Virginia.
They should have had the staff to get that done, I would think. Ron Paul won't give up. He was in Washington and North Dakota today, the caucus states. What's the strategy there?
I think the man doesn't have to give up, so why should he? He doesn't campaign in the full bore, millions of dollars on advertising as Romney has chosen and can afford to do. And I think Republicans are going to have to look long and hard at this primary process they've put in place this year. I mean, the Democrats didn't have to worry about it. We have an incumbent president. We might have messed it up just as much ourselves, but I think this is just wearing out their party, wearing out their donors, and not bringing them any closer to coalescing behind a candidate.
Tony, who do the Democrats have their eye on tonight?
Oh, I think the eye is really on Santorum to see if he'll go away finally. I mean, he seems to have peaked, but he hasn't peaked as quickly as we've come to expect. He hasn't just exploded like Herman Cain did overnight,
right.
Or Rick Perry did. He's still hanging on, and if he doesn't win Ohio or come very close to winning, I think that's the death knell for his campaign effort.
You agree?
I do, and there's another kind of subtext tonight, and it's one that's worth watching. Rick Santorum did not file full delegate slates in Ohio, so there's the possibility that he could do very well in the preferential primary there and still not get the delegates necessary to take on to the convention. Again, a staffing campaign organization problem early on that could cost him very dearly tonight,
okay,
potentially.
30 seconds. The president held a first news conference of the year today to answer reporters' questions. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, I think not.
Gee,
No.
Super Tuesday. I mean, let's see. If he doesn't hold a news conference on the big Final Four, we'll know that he's keeping an eye on the calendar.
He stayed away from personal attacks during the whole thing, though.
Hard to imagine for an entire hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well.
All right, guys. Thank you. So, of course, our political insiders will join us tonight on CBS 21 News live at 11. We'll get your take on who's coming out on top when the polls close just hours from now.
That's right.